Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of TheFadShow. This episode is going to be part 2 of my Volkswagen Mark IV TDI PD camshaft replacement. I'm going to put everything back together today and start the car up for the first time. Hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so I'm going to now continue with the timing belt part of the job. So I did support the engine from down below with the floor jack to take the weight off of this motor mount. Now I'm going to undo the motor mount so that I can get the timing belt off. Yeah, this motor mount is completely shot. Oh, good thing I got a new one. Alright, and now there's just a bracket on the engine too that is going to have to come off. Not sure what all the bolt sizes are for this one. Jobs where I have like every single tool in my toolbox out.
Unfortunately, the motor mount bracket is a little bit of a puzzle to get out, and I apologize. I did not do a very good job of filming it.
Alright, so I already removed the tensioner, which was here. So now I'm going to go ahead. I'll probably remove this one idler pulley first that the new timing belt kit comes with. And then I'll go ahead and replace the water pump. Alright, now it's time to remove the water pump, and I have my bucket down below to collect the leakage. Trying to take this out slowly so it's not an explosive loss of fluid, but it looks like it is still sealing, even pulled back slightly. So it might be an explosive loss of coolant. I did drain the coolant, obviously, but there's still some in the engine, I'm sure. Finally, I got it with the pry bar, and it actually is landing in the bucket. So that's a win. This one had a plastic impeller, the new one's a metal, so a slight improvement. Alright, the new metal impeller water pump, I put just a little bit of silicone grease on the O-ring. I cleaned the sealing surface. Now this will go in. Alright, and these get torqued down to 15 newton meters. Alright, I put the new timing belt idler on. I'm going to torque it. It gets torqued to 18 foot-pounds. So I finally got the bracket mounted back up to the engine, which is a friggin' puzzle trying to do that. It's honestly terrible. It's been the worst part of this job so far. Here's the new motor mount, obviously way more stout than the old one, so I think the car is going to be happy. So engine's a little bit high. That's in place. Alright, I finally got the bolts on the engine mount in. The threads were just kind of old and just a little crusty, so I chased them a little as best I could with a tab. It was kind of hard because there's no room to get a tap handle in here. And then I put them in with some engine oil, and that helped it go together a lot smoother. So hopefully they're at least good enough for this one more time. Probably in need of a time cert eventually. So the bolts that mount to the engine, these get torqued to 100 Newton meters. And then the others are 40 plus 90 to the body. It's 100. All right, these ones are 40 and 90, and then obviously there's a torque to yield, so you should replace the hardware. That's why I got new hardware. I honestly thought all of them were torque to yield, not just these two, but anyways. All right, now change this to angle. I guess I can also kind of line up, so 90 degrees would be perpendicular. Maybe not. Like half and then half again. But luckily, my torque wrench does angle. So, crisis averted. And those threads felt actually pretty good. Torquing, I was a little bit nervous, so good. All right, so off camera, I went ahead and cleaned up the entire valve cover sealing surface just with some Brillo pad and then some brake clean and lint-free rag. I also cleaned up the bearing seating surface and just the very tappet on the valves and the injectors. Everything else I'm just gonna leave. It's fine having, obviously, whatever, veneer in here. And now I'm gonna start reassembling everything, starting with the bearings, which there's just a little tang that they go into. And just make sure they're flush with the cylinder head and that the little oil galley is lined up.
Unfortunately, I'm about to learn that the new lifters will not go in place with the camshaft bearing journals in place, so I'm going to have to undo everything I just did.
Alright, I'll just take my machinist rule. And make sure the bearing caps are perfectly flat. Alright, so new INA lifters going in, and I ended up getting the actual nitride coated black ones. Supposedly these are an upgrade and more wear resistant. Oh, that was stupid. You can't get these in with the bearing caps there. Oh, that was dumb. All right, I'm gonna change my gloves now. Fresh gloves. All right, so take two at putting the lifters in. When they go in, you just make sure they turn. I'm gonna go ahead, put some assembly lube, and I'm gonna put, I don't know, just a tiny bit on the bearing caps, and then a little bit on the top of the lifter plates. And here is my brand new BB crankshaft. The first time we'll touch it, we'll be putting it in the car. And the key at the top is the top dead center. Cylinder 1 should be in like an almost V pattern, and then this should be level with the valve cover. All right, that looks like perfectly dead nuts parallel. And this is facing up, which is where it needs to be. Obviously, it's not going to get pushed flat until the valve caps go on. So, yeah. All right, so the 2 and 4 caps go on first. And these get tightened alternating and crisscross. And I'm just gonna use the smallest 3/8 inch drive ratchet I have to try and just do it evenly. All right, I'm now going to go ahead and torque everything to 8 Newton meters in the same order, starting with 4 and then to 2. And then 5 or 1. I'm actually impressed with myself. I didn't over torque it just putting it on, because 8 Newton meters is not a lot, and sometimes I tend to gorilla things. First. And then I'm just going to check everything. All right, now I just have to do the 90-degree angle on everything. So I do have a angle torque wrench, but I think this is easy enough to do by eye. So I'm gonna just use a 3/8 drive ratchet because my torque wrench is massive. So here, this is pretty much parallel with the cylinder head, so I'll be going to 9 o'clock position here. Did that one. Now I'm just gonna mark the ones I've torqued. So I did that one, so 4 to 2. Alright, so before I put the injector rockers on, I'm just going to put a little bit more assembly lube on the cam lobes. And for the injector rockers that have fallen out, I just used a little bit of RTV and a brass punch and a ball peen hammer just to hammer these back in on a block of wood. RTV, my idea was that they would just keep it from vibrating out again, maybe. Hopefully it will stay. Like I said, you can use your old, I don't know where I put the old bolts, but they're actually an interference fit for here. You can use two of your cam cap bolts. All right, these get torqued to 20 Newton meters and then 90 degrees. All right, next I'm gonna put the camshaft seal in. I'm just gonna lubricate it with a little bit of engine oil. Oh, just so it slides in easier. Let's see if I have a socket about that size I can put it in with. It seems the 32 millimeter deep well socket. Got that on there, and you just want it to be even on each side, not cocked at all, which it looks like it is. All right, and now it's time to put the cam sprocket back on. So the groove is at 12 o'clock for this. And then I bought a new bolt for this. I just put a little bit of blue Loctite on here. This is definitely a bolt you don't want coming out. All right, now it's time to use our special tool again to hold the camshaft sprocket. And this gets torqued to 100 Newton meters, so it's gonna be hard not to turn the camshaft. Now I'm going to use this to put it at top dead center. Which now that that bearing cap's there, we can hardly even see. Alright. Well, this timing mark is damn close. All right, so once you get this tight, and then you can move the cam slightly until you can get your timing pin in. So I confirm this is at top dead center. You can also see, I don't know if it shows up on the GoPro, but there's a little "4Z" logo that's pointing straight into the center of the timing marks on here. So that's indicating top dead center. This is indicating top dead center. And then you can pull the tandem pump back, and it's never going to be able to show it on video. I had to use an inspection mirror, but you can basically just confirm that it is flat with the cylinder head horizontally. All right, now it's time to finally fit the cam sprocket. So let's just make sure the timing belt is everywhere it more or less needs to be. I'll just All right. All right, now the last thing I have to do is tighten the camshaft sprocket bolts. So I just barred the engine over 2 times, and luckily it didn't hit any pistons. And I just want to make sure the timing mark is spot on where it needs to be, which it is. Perfect. Crank lock went right back where it was supposed to be. So yeah. These like timing tools are kind of just like barely fit in here. It makes me nervous that it's not going to come out, so I just use the mirror or that one. Go straight in there. I don't know, it's dead straight in the middle on the mirror. All right, so now I'm gonna put my new tandem pump gasket on. I went ahead and cleaned everything up really good on both the cylinder head and the tandem pump itself. Don't want any leaks here. Alright, so one more thing I wanted to do before I button everything back up is check the injector lash. So to do this, you basically just line up the intake cam lobe with the center of the rocker roller. So right now the cylinder 2 is in that position. I'm just turning the engine, and then whatever cylinder comes up. I went past 1, so I'm doing 2. So to do this, you just unlock this. When it's in this full depth of stroke, you just unlock this lock nut. And then you'll turn this. I'm gonna turn it out a little bit now, and you turn until you feel resistance. And then from there you do 180 degrees backwards. So in this case it'll be like that. And then just counter hold and lock it down. I'm just going to keep barring the engine over and do it for the other 3 cylinders. All right, now for the valve cover to go back on with a new gasket. All right, so I got everything back together. My main camera died, so I kind of stopped filming. But anyways, pretty much everything's back together. The one last thing I wanted to do before I started was prime the fuel system. So how I did that, I used this little vacuum tester. I just hooked it up to the fuel return, and I just pumped on here until I just started seeing diesel come out from here. The reason I wanted to do this is because I know my lift pump is dead, and I don't want the car to crank a bunch without oil pressure. So also it's better for the tandem pump too than running it completely dry. So this is what I did to prime it, which
So the last thing before starting the car is just filling the coolant that I drained and also topping off the power steering reservoir.
I had so much anxiety for that first start, but it is running so smooth. I'm only gonna run it for like a minute because I need to check the fluids again. But oh my God, it's purring like a kitten compared to before where it was beating itself to pieces. So the break-in process for the new cam is to run it at 2000 RPM for 20 minutes, which feels ridiculous when you're just sitting on quick jacks in your garage. But yeah, it's a necessary evil, I guess. But yeah, so far the engine sounds way better than it does before. I haven't checked the timing in VADCOM yet, but it seems pretty good. Like, it's definitely responsive and I mean, feels like how it should, I guess. Yeah, temperatures are good. I did run it just once for like a minute or so and then check the fluid levels. So far so good. I think I'm like 15 minutes into 20 minutes right now. So somehow, without making any adjustments, I got the timing dead nuts on, so that's pretty impressive. I'm impressed with myself, although I will admit it was probably just dumb luck. But yeah, happy to see that.
I guess I should explain this better. VW considers the difference between the camshaft and the crankshaft via the crankshaft and camshaft position sensors to be what they call torsion value. There's a lot of argument online as far as what number you're looking for, but 0 is obviously no difference. So mine being 0.5 is within half a degree, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. So from what I've read online, people say that 0 to 1 is probably the best performance for a BEW, but there's a lot of debate. If you're within plus or minus 2, I would probably just leave it personally.
Also, my injection numbers look pretty good too. I mean, they're not perfect, but they're within the ability to be adjusted by the computer. Probably run some diesel clean through it and try and even them out a little bit more. So that's a wrap on this episode. It was a lot of work, but in the grand scheme of things, nothing was actually really that challenging. Everything went pretty quickly. I've never actually really done any sort of timing work before, and I thought it was straightforward and somehow managed to get the timing dead nuts on, even with my cheap Amazon timing tools. So I think it's definitely something you could DIY at home. So far the car is running great, sounds much better. And it has a lot more power. You can tell that it can breathe a lot better now that worn cam has been replaced. It has unveiled some other issues that I'm gonna be working on in the next episode down the road. But yeah, definitely happy with the results. I hope you guys like this video. I hope you find it helpful, and please like and subscribe and stay tuned for more.